If you are employed, it is always good for you to always remember that one day you will exit that workplace. You will leave that workplace. Welcome to A Word from the Coach. In this week's episode of A Word from the Coach, I would want to share with us briefly a word on what I call the job cycle. The job cycle is a segment out of the larger retirement conversations that I do have with groups. But I usually use the job cycle as an opener, as something that gives us the realities of what happens in the job market. So this conversation is a conversation for someone who is looking to join the job market or someone who is already in the job market. And it is just meant to give you the realities that you should be expecting in this particular world. But before we get into it, please subscribe to this channel. If you love what you have been seeing here, please like this video, drop a comment, ask a question, let me know which other area you would want me to talk about, and I'll be glad to make another word from the coach in response to your requests. So let's get into it. The job cycle is a cycle that has got 3 stages. When I was just trying to reflect on the realities of what happens in the job market, I came up with 3 stages that every person in the job market must go through. And I want to remind us quickly about these 3 stages. The first stage is the stage I call the stage of job hunting. The stage when you are looking for a job. A lot of things happen in this stage, and different people go through different things in this particular stage. In different audiences, I've asked people to describe for me how this particular stage is or was for them. And people have said different things. Some people have said that this particular stage is a very difficult stage of this particular cycle. Some people have said it is the most humiliating stage. Probably you're looking for a job, you've looked for it for a long time, and you've not been lucky. So it gets to a point where it can be humiliating. Okay, sometimes people tell you big things, sometimes people dismiss you in a very inhumane way, and therefore you feel that it is a very difficult time. Some people have also described this phase as a very frustrating phase. There is nothing as frustrating as looking for something that you have little or no control over when you will get it, right? So you looked for it for a long time, and every place you go, you get a reject, you get a decline. Every application you make does not go through. It is not an interesting thing. It can be frustrating. Some people have said it is a draining period. Some people have said it is a vulnerable period. During this phase, some people are taken advantage of. We have heard of stories where people are sexually taken advantage of. Some people are financially taken advantage of. Some people ask for bribes from people for them to be able to allow them an opportunity to work for their entities. We've heard all these things. And therefore, it is a difficult phase in a nutshell. Some people have said it's a tiring phase. And these days, it's a bit fairer in terms of tiring, but back in the day when we used to look for jobs physically, manually, you would make physical applications, then you would have to be walking and going to drop them physically. I know we still have some places where applications have to be dropped physically, but that is not as rampant as it was back in the day. So it was a tiring phase. Today, some people have to look for jobs manually, walk from one gate to another gate, knock the gate, ask for a job, be turned down, walk to the next gate. And that is tiring, physically speaking. But it's also tiring, even mentally, emotionally speaking. It's very, very tiring. That is the first phase. It's also a mandatory phase in the journey of in the cycle of the job space, that you have to look for a job if you need a job. And I'm not describing situations where we have people who just have a clear a through pass to the job market. They never searched for a job. They were in fact pulled. I hear there are some people whose hands are pulled and they are frog marched into a job. They are bulldozed into a job. They come from school and they are told, hey, there is a job here. Okay, but that is not for everyone. So I'm describing a situation that would be happening to the majority of us. The stage of job hunting. After you have done job hunting, you're praying, you're hoping that you get a job. God becomes faithful for you and he comes through for you and you get a job. You now move from the phase or the stage of job hunting. You go to the second phase, the stage I call the stage of job maintenance. You've gotten yourself a job, an opportunity to work somewhere. Now you have a responsibility to maintain that job. How do you maintain that job? Some things happen in this phase. Number one, you encounter the realities of performance. There is no employer who employs someone for the sake of it. You are hired so that you can help propel the business to the next level. And therefore, issues of performance begin to come into play. There is what will be expected of you at the end of whatever period. And therefore, if you do not perform according to expectations, you may not be able to maintain that job, to keep that job. Okay? In that particular phase, you will also encounter the realities of having to abide by the company rules and regulations. Every organization has got its code of conduct. When you have gotten a job, then you have a responsibility, a duty to abide by the code of conduct of the place where you are working. If you fail to do so, then you may not maintain that job. You may not sustain yourself in that workplace. In that phase is also where you encounter job satisfaction. That is where you get to answer the question of whether you love the job you're doing or you don't love it. Okay? And if you don't love the job you're doing, I always suggest two things. Number one, you teach yourself how to love this job. Or number two, you find another job that you can love. There is nothing as expensive, as difficult, as draining as doing a job you do not love. If you do a job you don't like, then you will struggle a lot. Every morning you will be fighting within yourself. Every Monday morning you will be feeling like you want to cry because it is another time for you to go to that place that you don't like. But very important in this particular stage is where you meet the realities of money. You now start interacting with money. You get paid for your services. You get paid for your time, for your skills, for your expertise. There is some appreciation for the job, for the work that you do where you are employed. Now, the entrance of money into this equation also gives different people different experiences. Some people get even more confused when they receive their money. They don't know how to handle the money. Probably it's the first time they are handling the money. They do not have any financial literacy background, and therefore they begin to handle their money blindly. Okay? So the money aspect is also very, very important because it begins to happen in this second phase. This second phase is a very important phase because it dictates a lot what will happen in your life in the phases that will follow. And therefore, if you are not careful, If you blunder in phase 2, chances are very high you will find life a bit rough, if not rougher, in the days ahead. So that is the second phase. Then there is the third phase. I call that phase the phase or the stage of job exit. Like I mentioned, as long as you ever got a job, as long as you ever found yourself in the job market, please, as sure as the sun will rise from the east, please know that you will one day have to exit that workplace. Now, this third phase is not a negotiable phase. This third phase, that third phase does not have an option. It is therefore a mandatory phase. Every time I have had chance to converse with people about retirement, it keeps dawning to me that conversations and realities of retirement are not obvious to all of us. There are people who get to the age of retirement and they are still confused. They still wish that they continue to work. Some of them will actually continue coming to the workplace. I've met all sorts of realities on the ground. That the fact that your employer has incorporated your day of retirement on your payslip does not automatically mean that you are aware and ready for retirement. And therefore, we must keep reminding ourselves. And that's why this is where I start the conversation of retirement when I'm doing those conversations. I will share with you again in the days to come, important details about realities of retirement. I'll give you a word from the coach about finer things in the conversations of retirement in the days to come. But as early as now, we must emphasize that the stage of exit is a mandatory stage. Therefore, your mind needs to be ready. Your head needs to be tuned to the fact that one day, you will exit that workplace. Some people will exit voluntarily, other people will exit involuntarily, while others will exit naturally. Voluntary exit is where you opt to step out of that particular workplace. You resign. You have chosen to exit. Involuntary exit is where, for instance, you are fired, you are retrenched, you lost your job. Natural exit is where you exit naturally, you retire, you attained the maximum age of working in that particular place, and therefore you have to exit. Either way, you will exit at some point. Now, your life after exiting will be a reflection or will depend largely on the choices that you made in the second stage, the stage of job maintenance, especially where money is involved. If you squandered money in that second phase, your life after exit, regardless of the type of exit, will largely depend on the choices that you made in that particular phase. When people exit, regardless again of how they have exited, they will choose to do different things. Some people will choose to go back to the cycle, and therefore they go back to job hunting. Maybe they lost their job. They are still young. They feel they are energetic. Therefore, they want to go back and look for another job. Maybe they resigned from the current workplace, and therefore they have gotten or they want to look for greener pastures. Maybe they have retired, but they have discovered that they are not financially ready for retirement. They squandered their active years, and therefore they did not prepare for retirement. They don't have money to run life after retirement. or they don't have any other thing to do in retirement. The only life they know is the life of working for someone. They may choose to go back to job hunting so that they can keep the cycle moving. But there is another group of people, upon exit, they may opt to drop from the cycle, from the job cycle. They either choose to stay at home or they choose to go into business, but they have dropped from that cycle. I don't know where you are in that cycle as you listen to this, but I want to believe that I have given you some reality out of this word that you will always be thinking about. And even as we'll be talking about retirement in the days to come, you will begin to see where this conversation plugs into that particular broader conversation. But always remember that as long as you have a job, one day you will exit. Whatever you are doing right now, as you are in this job, please remember it will have a bearing on what will happen to you when you exit. How you treat people today while you are in this job today will have a reflection of how life will look like, your social life and other areas of your life, how they will look like after exit. If you're looking for a job, it pays to pay attention to this cycle, that when you get the job, then you want to be very careful how you handle life while you are employed, because it will determine a lot of what happens once you drop from that system. Good people, if you love what you have heard, please like this video, share it with others, drop us a comment once again, leave a question. I'll be glad to do another word to respond to the same. But I want to believe that you have gotten something that will be ringing in your head even as you go about your business in the job cycle. You can do better. And this is a word from the coach.